to We Don't Have Cookies, where possibilities are possible. Here's your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, before I introduce my guest, I just want to talk about a couple of things. I've been really busy lately. My kid's doing cheerleading this year, so I have to pick her up from practice and go to the games. I have a lot going on around the house too. I've been working on this place for years and moved in a few months ago, but I've realized that I'll never be finished working on it. I think any homeowner can relate to that. This week I have people coming over to do stuff on the house. One guy's working on the roof. Another guy's working on the only door in this entire house that wasn't replaced in the remodel, which is in the room that I do the podcast from. And another person's coming out to bring crushed limestone so I can make a driveway. The hot water line to the washer needs fixed. That just happened yesterday. And I also have a lot of other projects that need to be done before it gets cold out. So with that said, I think the show's going to go back to once a week for a little while. I'm not 100% sure how long. I just can't do the show twice a week and keep up with everything else. Hopefully it won't be long though, because I have a lot of fun things planned and I really want to follow through on them. The reason there was no show on Thursday is because there was an unexpected death in my family, and I'll just leave it at that. But on last Monday's episode, I did mention that Beej would be my guest on Thursday's episode. He's the guy that does the BS Facts segments. Because of everything that's happened this last week and some miscommunication on my part, I had to call things off, but I hope to have him on again soon. That does keep the record intact of every time I announce an upcoming guest, it never happens. So I want to ask Mike Furman, formerly from the comedy band Hard and Firm with Chris Hardwick, will this curse ever go away?
It's never gonna happen, no way. 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 It's never, it's never, it's never, no, not a chance. It's never gonna happen, no way. It's never gonna happen, no way. It's never gonna happen, no way. It's never gonna happen.
Okay then. My guest this month isn't from another country, but she's so high that she might feel like she's on another planet.
Yeah, I try. That's the goal. Actually, no, I don't even have time for that shit anymore.
Really?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Or should I take that out?
Well, I mean, I do still smoke, but I don't have time to smoke consistently like I have in the past.
She's a staple in the We Don't Have Cookies guest rotation and has been on every single episode for well over a year now. It's Mama Kate.
Every single episode?
Every single month. That's what I meant to say.
You said every single episode, though, so you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm very wrong on that. I would like to think you're on every... Exactly.
I mean, he doesn't actually invite me on every episode, but I'm there.
The spirit of Mama Kate is with us.
As well as this leftover fart smell that I leave.
Last time you were on the show, you said you quit smoking. You still nicotine free?
Nicotine free, no.
No?
No, but cigarette free, yes.
That's awesome. So how long's it been now? It's at least a month,
1st.
right?
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
I know how hard that can be. I quit smoking a long time ago, and I stayed a casual smoker. If somebody else was smoking, I always had that urge, and I would ask if I could have one just to kind of join in.
Yeah.
And every now and then I might get a pack of clove cigarettes, but before I used to smoke a lot, and I know that can be really tough to quit.
Well, yeah, you don't even know what to do with all your free time.
My big thing was just driving somewhere because it was a way to kill time. I mean, right there, one cigarette's 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was something to do. Even if you were driving, it was just something to do. But if I had to go somewhere that was really far away, I just wanted to smoke while I was going there. And if I didn't, it just felt so much longer than it's supposed to be. It's really weird.
Yes. Well, I was used to not smoking in the car because I wouldn't smoke in the car because of the kids. I didn't smoke in the house because of the kids. So I was always outside. Now I don't have any reason to go outside. So I've had to tell myself, like, you can still go outside, even if you're not going to smoke a cigarette. Like, you're still allowed to go sit on the porch. You know, it's not dependent on smoking a cigarette. But then I go out there and I sit and I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing? Just staring at the neighbors? You know? I'll just go back inside. So
That does feel weird because I like to sit on my front porch, but at the same time, if I'm on my phone sitting on the front porch,
Yeah.
I just think, well, I could do this inside on a comfortable couch.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if I'm not on my phone, I feel like I'm just staring into somebody else's yard and it looks weird.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the wheelchair, there was only 2 places I could be, and that was in the living room or outside. I could get myself onto the front porch. And so I spent a lot of time then out sitting on the front porch just because I was tired of sitting in the living room. But yeah, I felt like I was just a neighbor stalker. Like, it's some freaky movie, you know? People walk down the street, there's just some lady in a wheelchair staring at her from your porch, you know? What are you doing? I've never seen you in this neighborhood. Where are you going? What's your business here? You know?
I always feel like that when I'm outside and the neighbors are out. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I try to avoid them at all costs.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I have a big enough yard where that is easily possible. I just go to the other side or something.
The
But
problem is I couldn't exactly get dressed with my leg in the condition that it was. I'm outside in pajamas, you know, like a dress with no under things on because I couldn't put underwear on at the time. My leg's 3 feet in the air, so I could have been just showing everybody the business. I don't even know. Just
That
out
reminds
there
me,
doped up on Percocets like a crazy person. A lot of times crying, you know, because like gets so emotional just being like trapped in your house and in pain and everything for so long. But I wouldn't want the kids to see me crying, so I'd wheel myself out to the front porch and just be sobbing.
I'm so glad you're laughing because I would feel like a dick. I don't know if I could not laugh at that. Especially if you were here live and you saw her doing the hand gestures to wheel herself out. It just painted the perfect picture.
Yeah, my foot's 3 feet in the air because I couldn't have it down at all. I'm not wearing any underwear. I'm in a dress out there sobbing. I'm just tired of being like this. I just want to be normal again. You know, people are walking down the street, walking their dogs like, hi.
Do you need me to take you to get divorce papers, honey? Are you okay?
Our new neighbor moved in next door. I didn't even talk to her because I didn't want her to like come over and chat it up while I was in that condition. Like, I just wait till I'm normal again. I'll be all right.
I'm a bad neighbor. I really don't talk to my neighbors. We had
Yeah.
some people move in, and one time the lady was out on the porch and she waved at me,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nothing I could do but wave back.
But
But-
waving is fine. I mean, waving's just this. There's sometimes I get trapped into conversations with
I had a-
neighbors.
I had a neighbor who would come over here and he would drive on a little golf cart and come over and talk to me and then ask if I wanted to go. And he's like, "You want to go for a ride?" And it was so
He's like,
awkward.
dude, I have a car.
Yeah.
I don't need your golf cart ride.
And I would just say, okay. And I would get in and he would just drive me around my yard. Okay. Thanks, man. That was awesome.
My yard looks even more awesome going 15 miles an hour. And thanks for tearing up my grass. You're right. It does look good with tracks in it.
It was so weird.
That is weird. I mean, a ride is like kind of generally indicates that he's at least taking you around the block or something. At least.
Yeah, he moved. Thank God.
Mm.
He would come over and just talk forever.
Yeah.
And anytime I would see him out there, I would just try to hide behind a tree or anything. I really would.
I know.
It got weird.
Yeah. I understand that. Our neighbors, like we moved in and 6 months later they put their house up for sale. I'm pretty sure.
It might have had something to do with you.
Yeah, I think they didn't have any kids. They didn't have any pets. You know, we move in with our 6 kids and our 2 dogs, and suddenly they're all eager beaver to get out of town.
Couldn't
They
figure it
didn't
out.
just move out of the neighborhood. They moved out of town. Like across town is not far enough away. Actually, since we've moved in, we right now have 3 houses for sale in our neighborhood. 2 of them have already been sold. So since we moved in 4 years ago, there have been 5 neighbors who have left.
Wow.
I'm trying not to take it personally, but I probably should.
Well, the last time you were on the podcast was the first time I brought up bagged milk on the show.
Yeah.
And a friend of the show and frequent guest, Canadian actress and improvisational expert Tracy Rowland, she made a YouTube video about bagged milk just for the podcast listeners. I'll have a link to that in the show notes, so please go watch that. Give it a like so she knows we appreciate her. And I think a month is long enough to cover bagged milk.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be nice to end this whole thing with the guest that was on when I started it.
I mean, I feel like you've hit all the finer points. of
Yeah, I
bagged
think
milk.
I think it's pretty much over.
We're just saying for us here in the United States, in the state of Ohio, bagged milk is a strange foreign concept.
Yes, it is. And it all started on the, let's see, what was it called? Because I named it after something Donald Trump said. Local bagged milk people, because that's when he said the local milk people. So I called it the local bagged milk people. You go check that out. And the reason I brought it up on that episode was because I was on Cave Crew Radio that week, and it came up on there. And Choo Choo Stew's one of the hosts of Cave Crew Radio. Mm-hmm. He recently was in the United States. I don't know if you know this, but he flew in to Michigan and met up with DK, one of the other hosts. And they drove back to DK's house in Ontario, but
in Canada.
Yeah. But I was really hoping we'd get a chance to meet up with him, but it just wasn't in the cards this time. I'm mad at Choo Choo
Stew all over again now. I mean, he could have mentioned that he was in Michigan.
Yeah, it's not far.
And they've seen a map. We're rivals because we're so close. Michigan just sits right on top of Ohio. What a dick! You're going to come all the way to the United States in Michigan? You're not even going to tell the people in Ohio?
Just mere hours away.
I take it personally. You better start filing subpoenas for Marshall's Law.
Well,
we're taking this to court.
Not to jinx anything. I think I already talked about this right up top in the episode, but hopefully next month I'll have you and Choo Choo Stew on the same episode, so maybe we can talk about it then. I know he's a big fan of yours, and I'm sure he wanted to come down to meet us. He just didn't have time.
He just didn't have time to mention it. Whatever. Well, I mean, I couldn't have crossed into Canada because I don't have a passport. Do you have a passport?
No. I used to go to Canada, but
actually,
since they started
Andy and I went to Canada for a honeymoon. We went to Vancouver and spent days getting high and going, what? What'd you say? But you didn't need a visa then. You know, this is something that they've just done in the last 10 years. Yeah.
I used to go over there, not all the time, but I took a few visits. I went to see Niagara Falls, which Niagara Falls looks better if you're on the American side looking into Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you're on the Canadian side looking into America, it just doesn't look as nice, which kind of sucks for us because it's like if you're in the neighborhood and you're the guy who doesn't.
For America, because you want the tourists to be on the American side, spending money in the American side, looking at the Canadian side and how lovely they've done their side. Good job, Canada. But really, all the money goes to America for all your hard work.
That's a good point. Yeah. I would like to do a meetup sometime, though. I know Kenny Boland's talked about coming over for a cookout. Mm-hmm. It would be cool if we could just kind of organize it where Kenny can come over, Choo Choo Stew flies over. Yeah. Maybe we can raise some money and get Benny over here.
Have we heard from Choo Choo Stew since the London attack?
No. Thankfully, I usually don't talk about this stuff, but I did want to bring that up. Thankfully, Choo Choo Stew was in America because that is his profession.
Yeah, that's what I was. I
mean, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah.
And thankfully, he's safe.
Yeah, because that was my first thought.
Yeah, that would have been a really hard show to do.
If he was dead.
Yeah.
That does make it difficult. I mean, you got to find a medium. You got to set up a seance. Then there's the whole problem of transmitting your EVPs into something that your listeners can hear. I mean, it's a very complicated setup to try to do a podcast with a dead person.
Well, I was more or less talking about how today's show would be hard to do because Chew would be gone and we would be sad, but that would be
sad.
That would be even harder to do next month's show.
I guess. I mean, we'd be sad, right? I mean, even though he did come to America and didn't even tell us, but sure, be sad.
He's got a podcast called The Podcast Train where he interviewed a medium. Mm-hmm. So if that would have happened, just out of respect to him, we could have contacted that guy and said, hey, I know you met with him. Let's all get together. Mm-hmm. Let's meet with him again. Out of respect for him, I'm using you. And it's kind of like a get together.
They already have a connection.
Yeah. It's almost a shame he didn't die.
Damn it.
Think of the downloads, Stu.
I know. How popular that would be. I mean, if he would cooperate. I mean, being a freshly dead person, he may not know how to communicate yet. So, I mean, that is putting a lot on Stu. Like, we need you to die and then immediately figure out how to communicate with the living. I mean, that might take years. I don't know what the process is.
I could be getting Mark Maron numbers.
The podcast takes a whole new twist.
I got a this or that scenario from our friends over at the This or That podcast. Mm-hmm. You can hear them on iTunes and a lot of other places. The episode scenario is, would you rather have a job grooming cats by licking them or have a job braiding people's pubic hair?
Yeah, I'm going to go with braiding people's pubic hair. Mostly because I'm allergic to cats and there's no way I'm licking a cat ever.
Now I want to do a Periscope video of you cleaning my cat.
that's not happening. I mean, your cat's cool and all, but I'm not licking him.
How many licks does it take to get Katie in the back of an ambulance? Let's see. 1,
2. Yeah, no, we're not playing that game. Plus, I mean, there's a chance that.
Holy shit.
If somebody's coming in to get their pubic hair braided, they are doing it willingly and cooperatively.
Yeah.
A cat, there's no such thing as bathing a cooperative cat, much less licking one. I don't think the cat's going to be down with it.
That is a good point. Presumably, if somebody's getting their pubic hair braided, they've prepped themselves.
Well, I'm assuming that I'm not like attacking people, physically removing their pants and like, I am braiding your pubic hairs. You get down on the ground.
Yeah, I would say not.
Yeah. I don't think you get many customers that way. Although you may get to go to prison, so that's one way to put a roof over your head.
And while we're talking about other people's podcasts, Kenny Bolin just started his podcast back up for the third or fourth time this year with another co-host. And he was also on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast last Thursday. You can check that out. It was a good time, and I'm really happy for him. I know that's a pretty big deal for him to be on Steve Austin's podcast. That's pretty damn huge, and I know he's gotten a lot of positive feedback. He must be huge
because even I, who have not watched wrestling pretty much ever, knows who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. So if he's reached the general masses, then good job, Kenny.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah. I got a video through Messenger. I forget if it was from Maya or if it was from Kenny Bolin, but it was Maya shooting a video over her shoulder of Kenny talking in front of the computer. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm like, well, why did she send me this?
Yeah.
And the longer I listened, it was like, oh, Kenny's clearly talking to somebody. And then I could recognize the voice. I was like, holy shit, he's talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. So congrats to Kenny.
For a wrestling fan like you, that was like hard on time. You're like,
yeah.
Oh!
It's like, man, I've been watching that dude ever since he wasn't famous at all. He was just working
since he was a nobody.
Since he was working in USWA in Memphis and nobody gave a shit. I mean, it's been
like
forever.
A hipster talking about an indie band. I've been listening to them since they were playing in a crap hole bar in front of 3 people.
I have a DVD somewhere where he was wrestling The Undertaker, and I think he was going by Steve Williams, which is his real name. and the Undertaker had a mask on and was going by the Punisher.
The Punisher.
And it was like a 3-minute match, which was kind of
Wow.
crazy because they had all these like huge matches later on in their careers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to try to find that sometime. But I just wanted to give a shout out to him. That's pretty awesome. And hopefully he'll be on the show here soon too. And it's time for this week's Dumbass of the Year. This week's Dumbass of the Year is a very special person. This week's Dumbass of the Year actually won last month's Dumbass of the Year.
Wow.
And that's me. for screwing up the intros to the show the past few weeks. And fittingly, the intro that I chose to screw up with, I introed the past few shows as this week's Dumbass of the Year episode. And it clearly was not. Which goes back to what I said at the beginning of the episode. I've had so much going on, and I'm just wore out right now. That's why we're going back just once a week for a little while. But I'm back up for nomination. That's great. So if I win this month's Dumbass of the Year again, now I have 2 shots at winning in the end.
You're like
That's
the
not
reigning
good.
champ. There is nobody who's gone 2 times in a row.
That's
Or
true.
2 times, period.
Well, we did have the dude from, I think he was from Brazil, who kept doing weird stunts to raise awareness for the rainforest.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He put a bat in his mouth once. He put his head in a box of spiders. And I
But
kept,
he's doing that
and then-
purposefully.
and then it hit me. It
Are
was
you
like, well,
screwing up
now,
Purposefully, Jason?
well, then it hit me. I thought, well, I'm feeding right into what he wants, is raising awareness. So I quit nominating him because it worked. So
No, I
you're
mean,
not
yeah,
really a
it's-
dumbass. You're doing stupid stuff.
Knowing
but the
that
plan's
it's
working.
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That,
intention of being stupid.
yeah. So that was kind
He's
of,
like the David Blaine of stupid.
before we go, is there anything you want to plug?
Nope.
All
I got
right.
nothing.
Well, Mama Kate Comedy on Twitter.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
So make sure you check that out. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. And make sure you like the Facebook page, facebook.com/we don't have cookies. That's it for us. And thanks for coming on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, never. It's never, never. It's never, never. It's never, never. No, 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 no. Never, ever, never, ever. No, 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 no. Not a chance. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen. No, no way. It's never, 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 never gonna happen.
It's almost a
So-
shame he didn't die.